the breakdown. Everything breaks down. Obvious things fall apart. The center cannot hold because this is one of those hands where, okay, yeah, sure. Literally millions of dollars are on the line. We're three-handed. First place is $4.1 million. They've already locked up 2.2, meaning there's still literally $2 million to be won. By the way, second place is 3 point something. There's so much to be won still. But this is one of those hands where the acid gets in there and everything just starts to slowly decompose. Because, I mean, if you think about it, because it starts off like such an obvious cooler. It's the most obvious, most basic cooler in poker. It's aces versus kings. You always see it. We always know what happens. It's not like we're super deep. This is the end of a tournament. One player has less than 10 blinds. How are we not getting all in right away? And it's just there's nothing to talk about. Well, we're not getting all in. Not now. And maybe not ever, Grant. Maybe not ever. Because in this hand, on this day, in this Triton $125,000 buy-in event, the center falls. And so shall you on the breakdown with Grant Dennison and Jonathan Levy.
Dude, that was epic.
Thanks.
The center falls, and so shall you. That is like the subtitle of your new fantasy novel about some sort of, maybe it's a sci-fi novel about the future where some world relies on some sort of gravity sphere to keep it going in the middle, you know?
I think Centerfall is actually kind of a great name for a science fiction series. Centerfall, book 1, you know, and so shall you.
Yeah.
Book 2, also you're the other guy, you know. But
do you think Fabio
good.
will do the cover for you? You think you can get Fabio?
I think Fabio is still available. Yeah. I think so.
Because I was
he doesn't like
assuming
to take too many assignments ahead of time. He doesn't like to book a schedule because he wants to, you know, sort of from book cover to book cover, make sure it still like fits his genre and what he wants and where he's going. He gives himself a lot of room.
Right. I was assuming it was going to be like softcore erotic fiction based on the short stories that I've accidentally found around your apartment that you've written that are just very illicit, you know.
They're just laying out there, you know, the short stories.
Yeah.
Oh, right by my on the kitchen table. There's just all these 25 handwritten pages, cursive pages.
Yeah, it always starts with "he caressed her supple leg" every time. Why can't you change the first line? You know, it gets old.
Well, I didn't know you were reading them, so.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'm a fan actually.
I appreciate
I'm like
that.
a hidden fan because you didn't know you were even out there in the world, but you.
Right.
I was your content consumer, and I was a fan.
This is how Kilgore Trout got started, I think.
I don't know what the hell that is.
That's what I was looking for right there. The I don't know. Kurt Vonnegut readers, they all get that reference. All of them. But
okay.
I don't know how many people.
I guess I'm not
Kurt
cultured
Vonnegut,
enough.
It was worth it. It was worth it for those
Sorry
who
I
read
didn't
it.
go
Loved
to
it.
Harvard. Whatever. Hey, are you ready for some Dejan Karađorđević action?
I am, actually. I am very ready. This hand is... It's going to unfold your mind and unwind your head. You know what I mean?
Unfold your mind like how they talk about if you unfolded a human brain, it would like stretch to the moon or whatever.
That's what
like
exactly what they say.
Yeah.
It would stretch to the moon.
Neil deGrasse
One
Tyson
brain.
says that at every fucking dinner party. It gets old, just like your opening line. But, you know.
If Neil deGrasse Tyson was here right now, he would say, well, actually, I mean, it would take a solid 3 minutes explaining something. But it would be interesting and it would be somewhat relatable. We'd all understand a little bit more about the universe afterward.
And that would be wonderful. Hey, here's the situation. Like you alluded to in the opening, there's 3 remaining in a 125K buy-in that got 171 entries. These Tritons are just insane.
Yeah.
And Alexei Ponikovs is one of the main players here. He's just like a crusher. He was winning everything during the pandemic GG World Series. He's been successful essentially since about then. And he's like clearly one of the best tournament players in the world.
Yeah.
Dejan Karađorđević is a name that the announcers are afraid to say. We couldn't we never heard them say his actual last name, so that's a guess on how to say the last name. They did say Dejan, so we know that the J is a ya. So at least we got that going.
We call him DK a few times also, just to avoid They love saying Ponikov's though in this hand. They're like Ponikov's this, Ponikov's that. And he or Dayon is They're very very sneaky there. Ali Najad, very sneaky.
So Dayon, by virtue of this tournament, which getting top 3 is millions of dollars, has leapt to the number 1 in the Montenegro all-time money list.
It's about time.
So
it's been a long time coming.
Somebody needed to supplant the other person from Montenegro.
Yeah.
So
now there's 2 guys.
Here's
on
the
that
thing
list.
about Dayon. Let's talk about Dayon because he's a mystery wrapped in a riddle. That's what they used to say in 2008, and everybody thought it was funny. He has a hendon that stretches back to 2018, so not an incredibly long hendon. But the nature of the hendon is so different than anybody else that we've seen in a spot like this, where usually if they don't have much of a hendon, we can not see many events, and we can say, oh, maybe they're an online crusher or a rich guy or whatever. But Dayon has not a huge amount, but a significant amount of results, and they're almost exclusively in 100, 500, and 1K events. And then in October of 2023, he cashed in a 10K event, in an EPT 10K event. But before that, the biggest event he had cashed in was a 5K in August of 2022, and besides that, the biggest is 2K.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't have like huge results in these. He has 2 scores in the 6 figures in all of these. So it's a strange and large leap to end up playing in this 125K event, and also to go this far is amazing for a guy like this. So we can only speculate as to how he got here. Maybe he started crushing cash in a way that he had not before. Maybe he won some massive online poker tournament for a lot of money.
Here. Nah.
Maybe he is a guy who was sitting on crypto for a long time and decided to take profits. I don't know.
That is possible, or just like he had a big exit with his company, so he was like playing poker but played events that were reasonable, and now he sold his company for $70 million, $100 million, something like that. Now it doesn't matter, and so he's taking some shots and having some fun, and maybe he's actually not bad. I don't know if he is or not, but maybe that too.
Hard to know, but it's fun to speculate about these mystery people. But that's what we got. We got Dayon here. He's not a known entity, at least to us. Maybe people in the elite high roller poker world know something about him that we don't. But to us, he's just a guy playing against one of the best in the world. And they're going to play a fucking weird hand. It's
weird.
What I said to Jonathan is like, this is unprecedented in breakdown history, the way this hand goes down. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this.
Mm-hmm.
The closest thing I can think of, and this is not really a spoiler, is the Tobias Rankemeyer fold in the big one for one drop, where he starts the hand with 15 blinds and folds aces on the flop to Scott Seaver.
I don't think that's even really a comp to this, though, I got to say. Because that's on the turn, and it's a weird, it's Rankemeyer just being cowed by the money, as much as anything. This is different. Feels different, yeah.
This is more of a strategic thing.
I think so.
And I think I can see why it happened the way it happened, but it's just like a confluence of events. It's like everybody has to make the 5% decision over and over again. Is basically what it has to happen.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into it, because there's at least one decision beyond the pre-flop stuff, which I'm sure we'll have to talk about anyway, because what the hell, that really I can't get there with yet, but maybe if we start to talk about, I just watched this hand just before we started, so I haven't thought much about it, but it doesn't seem like it could possibly be right to me, although the commentators thought it was right when they were doing it, but I don't know. We'll get into it. It's on the river. Spoiler alert, it's on the river. Anyway.
Spoiler alert, there is no right in poker. The solver might say something. We're not done yet. We don't know what's right.
No.
All right.
Could still be
so right. It could be, but we don't really know.
I don't know. We sometimes declare things as bad. We feel very comfortable doing that sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes we are as sure as we are about gravity, which is still not 100%, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Come on.
Yeah. All right, so this was suggested, by the way, by Ruthino. Long timer.
Long time.
One of the GOATs. 3 remain. As Jonathan mentioned, what is it? 2 million, 3-point-something million, and 4-point-something million are the payouts?
I believe that is correct. It's, all right, I'm going to have to lean in for this. 4.7, 3.2, and 2.2.
Okay. Significant money on the line. You can double your money by getting, more than double your money by getting first over third.
Man. Okay.
Yeah. So we're at 400K, 800K. Dayon is the effective stack at the table. He has 7.6 million, so under 10 bigs by a smidge. Ponikov's his opponent in this hand has 19 million as the chip leader, and the third guy has like 16 or 17 million. So not deep by any means. This is one of those things that can go lots of different ways. Dayan is the clear short stack though, and he's in the small blind. And after the third guy folds, Dayan has 2 aces in the small blind: ace of hearts, ace of clubs. Obviously, this is not just going to be a shove because that's not interesting. So he's going to limp. How frequently are you doing this?
If you're going to have some limp traps, this is, a pretty good hand to do it with, I have to say. It's got the least vulnerability of any hand. That's pretty good. So I think it's fine to do it. I think it depends on the dynamic of the table and your dynamic small blind to big blind, right? So one of the things they said was that he had recently limped the small blind and then been raised, and Panikov had raised and he had folded. And so that's actually, if that had just happened, that's makes
pretty
me
good setup.
Really want to lean into limping a lot here, especially when it's limp or shove, right? It isn't like making a small raise is kind of absurd here. You would always just move in. It's like too obvious to make a small raise, like what are you doing? So actually I think limping with aces when the other guy has like 8 blinds is pretty good a lot of the time here. You want to move in sometimes too, especially depending on how much you're moving in and stuff like that. But I think it's pretty good, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I think in general, when the effective stack between the two players is around 10 blinds, it's a pretty good play, no matter which player has 10 blinds. Of course, it's opponent dependent. If you have this is a high roller, so you're going to have dynamic opponents for the most part. So it's fine to do this with ubiquity. But if you're against like a player who basically never raises without a super strong hand, and you block all of those things by having aces, you should probably just move in. Stuff like that.
I mean, if you're up against a player who never raises except with a super strong hand, and they have 8 blinds effective, then you can min raise, because that means they're not like hardcore professional. They aren't going to realize, when you min raise, you probably have the whole thing, right?
Right.
So you just min raise this hand then. But yeah.
This is a great play against a psycho. I don't think Panikov is a psycho, but he's balanced, and he's going to have some aggression sometimes.
He's going to move in with all the hands he's calling with plus more, right? So it's probably better to limp than to move in when we've got a hand this strong against a player like this in this spot.
Yep. Ponikov's is in the big blind, and he's in trouble no matter what he has, which happens to be 2 kings.
2 Cowboys. Yellowstone.
How? 2 Doyles.
Kevin Costner.
Doyle 1 and Doyle 2.
Doyle 1 and Doyle 2. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I was going in a different direction with that cowboy thing, but it's all good. It's all good. Kevin Costner,
Doyle's
Patrick Swayze.
I'm talking about real cowboy. Doyle, although I don't think he ever actually,
No, he was a
cowed.
basketball player.
He didn't boy the cows, as they say.
Boy the cows?
Yeah, he didn't boy the cows.
What does that mean?
That's what cowboys do.
Boy the cows. I thought I was thinking it was a specific task you do to the cows, and I was worried when you're boying something. But no, I get it now. Cowboy, boy, cow.
I don't know what cowboys do when they get lonely.
It's not so it's not great when you have to explain the joke, Grant. Not great.
I think that was not great on your part. I'm just going to go with that.
That's what you do. You blame the audience. Sure. Go on, Ponikov's.
How do you not get boy the cows? Ponikov's has 2 kings.
Yeah.
It's disaster.
It's curtains for Panikov.
He checks. How the hell does he check? What the hell? He just shoved, right?
It's the same thing as before, right? Where he's like, it's move in or check. Anything else is bizarre. And he's afraid his hand is too strong. Not too strong, but it's like he wants to get action. He's afraid the move-in's going to work too well to get fold. It's got like too much fold equity. It's weird to have too much fold equity, but he's afraid he's got too much, right? That's what's going on.
But I mean, if maybe he has no respect for Dayan, I don't know. But if Dayan has recently limped with a similar stack and gotten shoved on and folded, that would make me lean towards shoving again as Ponikov's.
Absolutely.
To assume that Dayan is going to have some balance to his limping range.
I think
for Dayan to recognize that from the past.
It's also okay to shove, have Dayan fold. You pick up the 3 blinds that are in the middle, and you turn over your hand, or they get to see because it's on stream, 30 minutes. He sees you shoved with kings. It's okay. Like, that's going to give you credit down the line for other shoves, right? Like, there's metagame value here beyond it. I think mostly you should shove here, but I can see sometimes checking back because you got to protect your check back range a little bit here, and because specifically this is the spot where it's shove or check. There really isn't an in between. I can understand it anyway. It could get a little weird. This is what you don't have to deal with aces is an overcard can come, and it's like, I mean, now it gets weird when we've got 8 blinds and he starts betting, like we have some weird decisions, but mostly 70% of the time or whatever, we're not going to see an ace. And so we're just going to rock and roll, I guess.
I mean, Ponakov is just sort of hoping that what happens is Dayan catches a small enough piece of the flop that doesn't beat kings, but like goes with it for 10 blinds. And then he thinks that's maybe at least a slightly higher likelihood than getting it all pre-flop to go in.
Yep. And again,
perhaps.
I'm sure he's trying to have some balance. So probably he is shoving this hand a reasonable amount of the time. It's Ponakov, so he knows what he's doing. But he's not always shoving it. And this is one of the times he isn't. Like you're saying, one of the 5% decisions comes in. Although this is probably higher than 5%. And I can understand why he checks back, at least some of the time. The aces I completely get. The kings less so, but I still think it's completely reasonable. You feel like you're getting in a lot on the flop and on the turn, and it's fine. If the guy picks up any piece, you're probably getting the full double, right?
Yeah. And I have not played 125K high roller, so I don't really know how the field operates or how the feel is at the game. But like in the tournaments that I play, the $500, the 1Ks, the 1500s, whatever, I feel like if I have recently shoved over a limp from the small to big and I end up with kings in the same scenario, I'm almost always shoving because people are playing like this level 1 game and
absolutely
also slightly emotionally,
Yep.
So
I agree completely.
But this
like
is different.
You're moving in a lot. If you're moving in a lot in anything, you pick up the big hand. Yeah, you just keep moving in because everything else. First of all, anyone who's good at all is going to sniff that out pretty quickly. Like, what's happening? Why are you not moving in now? You know, like that's the hand I have to worry about, if anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. This is how you have balance, right? If you've been moving in, you keep moving in with the good stuff too. But
and although both passive plays here can be justified, I think one more easily than the other, but still both justifiable. It's still notably strange to see a 10 blind effective hand, small to big, where aces and kings end up going to the flop having put in no additional chips.
I got to tell you, I feel like what ends up happening, even though we're saying it's just shove or check for these guys essentially, that even in these stack sizes, what you see, even against good players sometimes, is they do make these super tiny raises to try and extract some, like almost force the other guy to call, anyway, even though it's like
I
absurd.
mean, in a way, there's like we're all beholden to math to some degree, right? Like if Dayan makes it 2.1x and Ponakov's has 9-10 off, he's probably calling, right? You know, and that's an extra 1.1 blinds usually is the usual result for Dayan.
And the guy can flop a draw or flop a pair and decide to put more money in. And sometimes you lose, but okay. If you got the big overpair, you just have to live with that. But a lot of times you win more. So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe there's something to be said for all of this. You do end up folding out the absolute crap, but you don't mind folding out the jack 6 off. Or maybe he doesn't have jack 6 off, but you know what I mean. Queen 4 suited. Queen 4 suited probably calls also. Honestly.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Maybe.
Anyway, we go limp.
Maybe there's room for that. Anyway, go ahead.
We go limp check. We got aces. We got kings. We got 2.4 million in the pot with the big blind ante included. The flop is all hearts, queen jack 10. What a flop for these hands. No king of hearts for Ponakov's, but the ace of hearts in Dayan's hand.
We got a royal flush draw. We got the open ender, and we got overpairs for both. Wild.
Yep. Yeah, the kings could be effectively. The kings could be effectively drawing dead here, but we are short enough that it doesn't really matter.
We don't care.
It's too good of a hand.
Yeah.
Dayan's going to start betting. It's finally time to voluntarily put some money in the pot, besides the limp. He bets 800K. That's the minimum.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. He doesn't mind getting shoved on, obviously. What?
I am torn on if Ponakov should raise or not here.
Oh, okay. I think Ponakov should at least strongly consider raising right now. Like, it's not the end of the world to get a fold and not have to deal with all the impossible cards that are going to come and either cause us to lose or get no more money in any way, right?
Right.
There's 4 blinds in there now. Sometimes we're going to get snapped and lose. A lot of times we're going to get called and be ahead. Most of the time when we get called, we're ahead. I kind of like a shove right now, even though we don't have a heart in our hand. Like, we're short as hell. Let's just get the double from if the guy has a queen or a jack or maybe even a 10, he might just call it off here. If he's got 9-10, he's not folding, right? How can he fold 9-10?
It would be an elimination, not a double.
Oh,
we have
okay, even
more.
better. Then we make $1 million. Let's make $1 million. I think it's fine to move in. I like moving in here, I think, a lot more than calling one blind. Like, because think about it. A heart comes off. Like, what are we going to do if he, like, there's no more money to be won and we may have to lose the pot now? That's horrible.
I don't mind either plan of either shoving now or seeing a safe turn card and shoving on the turn.
I agree. We could wait and make sure, and now we're like have all the odds in our favor, effectively, right?
Yeah.
Or even if we end up calling it off because he puts in a committing bet, that's fine too. Right. I agree. That's okay. I guess I know it's going to happen on the turn, and we're not going to shove the turn because clearly we're already. I mentioned that there's a river decision, so that's what I was saying. So I think I like a move in. I think I like a move in a lot though. Even right now, more than a shove.
I do too, but I don't mind doing it on the turn.
I agree.
Because if Dayon has any of the scary hands that he would actually be playing this way, like the Ace of Hearts, for example, that we are ahead of,
how does he have the Ace of
then
Hearts?
He's not going to fold anyway if we shove. We're not actually.
How does he have the Ace of Hearts? He would move us in with almost any time he has the Ace of Hearts pre-flop.
We don't know. What does he have? I guess you could have Queen 9 with a 9 of Hearts or something.
Yeah. He could have Queen 9 with, I mean, he could have that. He could have 10-8 with the 8 of Hearts. He could have Jack 5 with the 5 of Hearts. I mean, he could have all sorts of things that he's just like, pair and a flush draw. I'm going to call for 6 more blinds, you know?
No, I'm not. To be clear, I'm not super up to date on current high roller blind versus blind short stack tournament theory, but I feel like Jack 5 off would be a bad call with under 10 blinds, small to big.
When you've got a pair and a flush draw, I don't know. It depends what you think about the player.
Pre-flop.
Oh, you mean the limp. You mean completing.
Yeah.
With Jack 5. Yeah, you're probably right. He probably don't do that. That's fair. But there are hands where we would be doing that with, right? Like there are lots of hands. Fine, make it Jack 8 with the 8 of Hearts then, you know.
Yeah.
Certainly would play that hand. Maybe even Jack 7. Probably play Jack 7 too. With the 7 of Hearts.
Probably. Anyway, Ponikov's calls with the Kings.
That's fine. I like
$4 million in the pot.
Yeah.
Aces with the Ace of Hearts for Dayon. Ponikovs has Kings no heart on Queen Jack 10 all hearts. The turn is the brickiest brick. It is the deuce of clubs.
All right.
Black deuce.
Yeah.
Dayon is going to bet again. Can't blame him. He's usually got the best hand. He's definitely got the best draw. He bets 1.3 million.
He's trying to bet an amount that doesn't chase out the like really weak stuff that might like maybe a weak heart and some with a little something else. You know, he's trying to like keep it all in, right?
Or even like Jack 6, right? Just like middle pair.
Yep. It's so cheap. You're like, well, I guess I call on some brick rivers. You know, have to call on a lot of brick rivers, and Also, he's betting small enough to give like a heart the opportunity to move in on him, right? Like if he's got the 8 of Hearts, 7-8 with the 8 of Hearts, maybe he moves in sometimes.
That would be a little much, but maybe.
I agree. But maybe.
Anyway, I mean, like, there's lots of reasons to bet as Dayon. Mostly it's just value.
Yep.
And now it feels like Ponikov should move in. That's what I want to do. Now that we've decided to take the passive line pre-flop in on the flop, we got the safe turn card. It's an unsafe flop, but it's a safe turn card regarding the flop. Maybe it's time to go now. You know, like, we can get called by worse hands. We can get called by Queen 8, Queen 9. Queen 6 suited might consider calling us even with like very little equity, you know, hands like that.
It's also fine not to get called and win this pot. This pot has real value in it now, right? This pot's got 4-point-something million. This is a good win, and we shut out whatever equity he has. That's great. If he's got a heart, we knock that out. If he has a pair, we knock that out. And we don't know what to be afraid of. We don't have to worry about it. Or we get it in now, and we get to turn over the hands, and then we get to realize our equity, which is fine too. We're sort of forced the full we get the full double or not. We get the elimination, I guess, in this case, and realize the equity. That sounds good too. I think it's a clear move in. It's weird to me because Randy Liu, who's doing commentary with Ali Najad, says he thinks call's the only play here. I'm really confused by that. I was surprised he said it.
Maybe he's right, but at this, to be clear to the audience, we're talking about specifically this stack depth. Like, we would never consider raising kings in this spot if we were 100 blinds deep. It would
never. No, you
pretty
call
ridiculous,
and you go real slow and chill. On this board, for sure.
Yeah, but like when stacks are such as they are, it feels like there's so many valuable things that happen by taking an aggressive action.
We can move in here, get snap called, and be ahead. Like, that's totally possible. You know, like,
I mean, he might snap every queen, and that's a lot of queens if he's limping a lot of suited queens. Like, So it's not a game theory disaster. Plus, we have fold equity against some hands that have equity against us. There's a lot of value in it.
I agree. It seems really bizarre to me not to move in here to get the fold, which is good, or get it all in and get paid every time the guy misses, which should be a lot of the time. Most of the time, we should win. Now, it turns out we're losing, fine. But every time we're winning right now, we usually hold on, against the range. We don't know what it is, but against whatever the specific hand is, which we now get to, contract the range to the one hand that the guy actually has. Like, we do very well against that every time we're ahead right now. I can't imagine why we wouldn't want to move in right now and get all of it. The river's often going to be a tricky card to get paid, or for us to, maybe we'll even get bluffed. A heart comes, he could bluff. I don't know. There's bad cards, man.
There are, and we might see one of them. We might see one of them after Panikov decides to just call, which, I know he's studied this spot to an infinite degree compared to us, so I'm sure there's good reasons for the call. But from all of the practical, noob reasons that we can see, it feels like taking an aggressive action at one of the 3 opportunities that he's had so far would make sense.
Let's see if we can come up with what are possible reasons to not have taken it. We know we come up with some for the first 2. What's a reason not to take an aggressive action on this street and just call? Let's try to defend the play for a second before we move on, because it's Panikov's.
It could be some sort of solver-based thing where on monochrome flops, you just never raise when it remains static to what it was on the flop. You just no matter what your hand is in certain spots. I don't know.
I wonder if he just thinks Dayon is really capable of blasting off, and it's one of those guys who just keeps putting chips in the pot. And so you just want to give him every opportunity to, one of the guys who will bet with anything but call with nothing. And so he's like, I've got a good hand, and there's some bad spots on the river, but I'm going to lose him, and I get it all, and I just eliminate him most of the time, kind of a thing. That's at least we're moving. What'd you say?
Could be that.
Yeah.
I mean, if with Dayon's Hendon, I'm more likely to believe that than if he had the typical 3 left and a high roller Hendon.
Right.
So it's possible. Right.
So maybe that. Anything else we can really come up with? It's hard to come up with that much else. It's hard to put you on kings. We could be assessing Dayon's strategy with his range differently than Panikov's is. Maybe Panikov's believes it is a game theory disaster to move in, that Dayon actually would fold a queen or something like that. Because, because even though he's short, and even though he's down to 4 blinds or 3 blinds, 5 blinds, whatever it is, that he'll actually find a fold with that kind of a hand. Yeah. Because the size of this thing, and it's $1 million to just move up 1 spot.
Right.
Oh, that's so he thinks Dayon is so scared. We're not saying he thinks this, but as a theory, that he doesn't want to move in there because that's interesting. All better hands would certainly have to call, right? If Dayon has 2 pair, or as it turns out, a slightly better overpair, he obviously can't fold. But okay, you know what? That's at least not impossible. Right.
Right. And that goes hand in hand with maybe Dayon's range is pretty strong here. If he's actually money scared, he's bet twice. That's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Now he's unlikely to have been playing money scared to get to this position in this tournament.
Yeah.
But it can happen, especially in a field that's not main event field. It's 170 players. It can happen. You can just cooler some people along the way at the exact right times. It's possible.
You could also not be money scared for the entire tournament, and now that we're finally here, and the big money jumps are really happening, your behavior could change. You could be going for it, oh my God. If I could just get a little lucky here, I could make another $1 million. It doesn't take it. Just one guy has to go out here, that things change,
Could go from taking a shot mode where you're just okay with losing the money to realizing that you actually are going to experience a life-changing event here.
I mean, the thing is, this guy should be rich enough if he's playing this.
Should be, doesn't
matter,
mean
but we don't know. We don't know.
Have you met poker players before? I don't know if you've met any.
I've met
as far as their money management skills, I don't know. Do you know about that?
Well, he's not necessarily a poker player. That's the thing. We don't know that he's
not necessarily, but he does play poker. And I'm not just talking about poker players. I'm talking, and by poker players, I mean professionals. I'm talking about players that you play poker with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's definitely
There's
fair.
a lot of talk about bankroll management in the world and not a lot of application of bankroll management.
Yeah. I mean, look around.
Yeah.
Look at everything. Look at the entire world. Everything is gamble on this, bet on that. where the odds are against you, and people
Yeah.
throw their money at it. Like that's it's everywhere. It's really wild, actually, to the degree it's taken off in the world in the last 5 years or so.
Anyway, Ponikov's might. We don't know what his reasoning is, but
you don't
he might,
like that social commentary? You don't want to talk more about it? The game.
I'm tired of your shit, man.
Society. All right. Anyway.
Tired of your shit.
Yeah.
Ponikovs might think that there might be a game theory reason. It might be a player-dependent reason. We don't know, but the result is that we're heading to the river with aces with the ace of hearts for Dayon on queen jack 10 deuce with 3 hearts and kings with no heart for Ponikovs and 6.6 million in the pot after Ponikovs calls. Dayon has 4.7 million.
Okay.
So less than a pot, significantly less than a pot. The river is the card. It's the king
card.
of hearts.
It's really
The
unbelievable.
king of hearts.
It's
Dayon
too
makes a
good.
royal flush.
It's too good.
Ponikovs makes a set.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. This is not a common spot for Dayon. This is not a spot that I've ever been in.
No, me either.
This is not a spot that Dayon will ever be in again. What are you supposed to do? How do you do this?
I think it's pretty clear what you're supposed to do, I have to say. Okay, we obviously have the royal flush. That's really good. If we think about Dayon has called, Ponikovs have called twice. Ponikovs have something for real. Like, he has to. He called the turn. Like, he's not messing around. He definitely has something real. What hands can Ponikovs bet if we check that aren't going to call if we shove? I can't think of any.
Just the 9 of hearts. Just
that
the 9 of
that
hearts, really.
hand is calling if we shove, for sure.
Yeah.
It's the straight flush.
Yeah.
So, but if he's got the 8 of hearts, I don't know if he's betting the ace of hearts. Probably, but I don't know. But I think he's calling it anyway.
You said ace the second time. I think you meant 8.
I did say 8, but maybe it did not come through clearly because you are 4,000 miles away from me. I definitely said 8.
The video doesn't lie. Jonathan lies.
I wonder what the captions would do, but we'll never know because it's long form and we're not doing captions on long form things, only shorts now. Anyway, if the 8 of hearts comes, I think it's the same thing. I think he's putting the money in. If we shove, I think he's definitely putting the money in. I'm pretty sure he's putting it in if we check too. It's the third nuts. I think he's putting it in. I think once we go below the 8 of hearts, I don't know if he's shoving anymore. Maybe the 7 of hearts, maybe not. But I think he's forced to call with some of those hearts, maybe all of his hearts. But he's checking back the low hearts, isn't he? Doesn't he have to check back like the 3 of hearts and the 4 of hearts and stuff like that?
I imagine, yeah.
I think he does. If he's got a king in his hand, he just made a straight, that's a check back, right?
You mean an ace?
I mean an ace. He never has an ace. That's the thing. If he has got a 9 in his hand, he can have a 9. If he has a 9 in his hand, like 9-10 or queen 9 or something like that, jack 9, that's a check back, I think, on this board, right? If he has, by some insane miracle, it's so hard to come up with a set here. Turns out he has top sets, so fine. If the very small percentage of times he has those have to check back now, right? You would never think he has those hands, admittedly. It's hard to come up with really any 2 pair except like queen deuce, jack deuce, king deuce, stuff like that.
And it's hard to imagine him getting here with a hand that now bluffs. I don't know what hand that would be.
Exactly. He has enough to have just called the turn. There's no bluff for him to have here that I'm aware of. If he's got 2 pair, he can check back. If he's got even a good 1 pair, he can check back and win sometimes. If he has a king that was open-ended and had the overcard, he made top pair, he can check back.
Yep.
I don't see what good comes out of checking here. I think every hand that shoves on us was calling anyway. And so we have to move him in to give him a chance to call with other hands. Like this one.
I think you're right.
Like straights, like other flushes.
Now, he might fold this hand. We don't know because Dayon does check.
He really might fold this hand.
But I agree with you because Ponikovs now has kind of the easiest check back in the world. There's no reason to ever bet top set here.
You're like, I mean, I guess if the guy has a set of queens and was going to call, but like, it seems unlikely based on the pre-flop action. And also, is he going to call with a set of queens? Probably. I don't know. It's $1 million to move up 1 spot, and he's short. I don't know if he's calling, you know? If we think he's scared, maybe he folds that hand. This is the
there's
worst
4
card
to
ever.
a straight. There's 4 to a straight and 4 to a flush.
It's the worst. And we shouldn't have to bluff, like we're saying. Like, we should be able to check back anything that of value, right? We should have some value, and we should be able to check all of it back, thinking maybe we're good, because we were the caller, right?
Yeah.
Dayan's the one guy who really doesn't have to have anything. We assume he does because he bet the turn, but he doesn't have to. We have to.
Yeah.
We have a made hand.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a pretty rudimentary Ponikov's check. Do you think there's anything to say about this check besides it makes sense. You can't really get value.
It's one of those spots where you're like, boy, I have this like weirdly strong hand that is also not strong relative to the board, and the hands that continue when I shove may all beat me, possibly all beat me. I don't know, but possibly. So yeah, we just check and move on with our lives. So I think it's a kind of a big mistake though for Dayan not to move in. Coming back to that piece, because Ponikov's have to check top set. If Ponikov's makes a straight somehow, if he has a 9, he's checking, right? If he somehow has an ace, I don't know what world Ponikov's ever has an ace here that doesn't move in pre-flop. But if somehow he does, he's checking, right?
Yeah, he's checking.
I think he's checking. 4 hearts, how are you getting value? You wouldn't even think you're
cards.
not moving the guy off a chop. The guy doesn't have an ace. Neither of you moved in pre-flop. Yeah.
It's like the 9 of hearts and the 8 of hearts are probably moving in, maybe the 7 of hearts. Beyond that, not really many hands. And those are just hands that have like a pair with them usually. I don't think you would just call with the 7 of hearts alone.
On the turn, you mean?
On the turn at least, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. But by the river, I think the 7 of hearts has to put all the money in this spot because we're so short and stuff like that. I think
maybe the 7 of hearts.
Maybe the what?
Maybe the 7 of hearts, yeah.
I think so. It's the 4th nuts. I think so. It's hard for anyone to have the ace of hearts in their hand. It's really hard. So it's really effectively at the 3rd nuts. Yeah, I think we probably just have to go with it.
Is it rude and unfair if I title this video, How to Make 3 Blinds with the Royal Flush Against Top Set? Is that rude and unfair?
No, I think you should make it I think you should add the word like just or only or something in there to really highlight.
Oh, do you think our audience is stupid enough to think that 3 blinds is a lot?
I think we're trying to grow our audience, and so we're reaching out to all the dummies who aren't currently our audience, and so yeah, I think so. Also, yeah, I also don't think our audience is smart enough to get it.
Well, no, that obviously, like
that was a rhetorical question, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, Dayan ends up getting 2nd place in the tournament after this. Ponikov's gets 3rd, and the other guy gets 1st.
The other guy who, when they turn over the hands, is really not happy that they didn't get it all in pre-flop or on the flop or on the turn. He's like, what the fuck?
But it wouldn't actually matter to him because Ponikov's would have been the one who lost, and it would have essentially just been a stack flip between Dayan and Ponikov's. There wouldn't have been an elimination.
That might matter to him. Ponikov's, instead of having the same stack as him, is really short when it's Ponikov's, who is really good, and this other guy who's never been in a big spot in his life like this. I mean, I think it would matter to him. Yeah. I think he'd care a lot. Maybe that's why he's upset, actually. He's like...
Maybe, yeah.
Ponikov's is supposed to be out like another 6 million chips or 5 million chips, and somehow he just isn't. Like, what is this world? But then he wins, and he's happy.
Yeah. This world is him making over $4 million, nearly $5 million.
I will say it was also notable to me, and this goes back to, like, who is Dayan anyway? When it's over, they shake hands, and he says to Dayan, you played really well. And Dayan's like, oh, thank you. Like, he seems like genuinely, like, appreciative of the guy saying it.
Yeah.
Almost like someone who, is more of an amateur-ish than like a hardcore guy. Like if you said that Jason Koo, Jason Koo, I don't think would have a response to that. He would be like, thank you so much, man. Like, wow. He'd be like, yeah, you too. It's just a thing you say.
Like, I know. Yeah, I'm Jason Koo.
You have no idea how well I played, you idiot. You fool. Right, yeah. But Dayan's like, thank you. He's like sincerely like takes it in. So,
good for him. You know?
I mean, really,
huge day. Huge day for him. Nicely done.
Yeah.
And we were, our job here on this podcast is to analyze the hand with stark reality in mind, but these are difficult decisions. We, upon looking at this for 40 minutes, were able to find ways that we didn't like certain things that Dayan and Ponikov's did, but like to be in this spot, to be Dayan, incredibly intimidating spot. And like, I think these decisions are not that easy to make in the moment when you're in a spot that you've never been in before in your life with the royal flush. It's hard to know. I
mean, on one level, I agree with you. On another level, I think you're allowed to take as long as you want to think about it and then act. And if you're not up to making decisions in these big spots, maybe you shouldn't be in this tournament.
It's easy to say when you're not three-handed for a $2.7 million difference between 3rd and 1st.
Right, but you should have known when you were entering the tournament that, like, were you to get far enough, you would be in that spot. I mean, I know sometimes, like, look, if you enter the main event and there's 9,000 players, yeah, okay, you could make the argument. Well, a lot of the people wouldn't have planned for day 9, because because it's so hard to get there.
I was just gonna say, do you think if you made it to 3-handed in the main event, you would make no mistakes?
I'm sure I would make mistakes. I'm sure I would.
Yeah.
I believe I would make less fundamental mistakes than this, or at least I would. I think I would. Well, you never know till you're there. But also, it's much harder to get to 3-handed out of 10,000 than 300 out of without rebuys. It's like 109 entries. 109 players or something like that. I mean, you're going to get there a fair amount of the time. That's all. Like
Darvin Moon did it. Jerry Yang did it.
He did. He did. And good for them.
Yeah.
They're
good
both
for
dead
them.
now, right?
I don't think Jerry Yang is dead.
I don't think so either.
Oh,
sorry, Jerry.
But he has a nice collection of white suits. All right. We will see you next week.
Hey. First time, no rehearsal. I say fuck the second take. 90s baby scratching on vinyls until the record break. Mr. One Night is all I need. No second dates. I'm the rapper most likely to make you